everyone. Okay, I'm a day late uploading my video, but don't panic. All of those 2 minutes didn't get raped. Hi, I'm Diana Davison, and I have to confess, I am one of those people who binged watched the entire 10-episode series of Making a Murderer. And when you've done that, that's pretty much all you want to talk about. Now, I think that not just the documentary, but the reaction to the documentary is extremely important. And I want to talk about a few different aspects to here. It's tempting to go into your own theories about who you think killed this woman in the story. For those who haven't seen it, just stop watching and go look at it, because everyone's talking about it and you might as well just see it for yourself. As the documentary makers have pointed out, and his defense lawyers, amazing people, as they pointed out, this is a story not just about Stephen Avery, this is about systemic failure. And that is one of the big things that I want to talk about in this video. And maybe I'll read all the transcripts from the trial and get into breaking all that down. And my thoughts on people like the hinky judge and his bizarre rulings, the mustached prosecutor who everybody loathes, and the shady brother and all this other stuff. So what I see going on outside of just a travesty of justice in this case, what I see is a lack of public faith in the justice system, as well as, and this has been going on for a long time, the law enforcement system. So this is a serious problem for any nation. We're talking about mostly America, Canada. I think that England is and all of Europe are seeing similar issues come up for them. But especially in America and mostly in Canada as well, there is, when you get a lack of public faith in the legal system, you get people taking the law into their own hands. Now, with the reaction to things like this documentary, here's the thing you'll find. The law's not too bad off in the public's hands. If you look at documentaries like The Jinx, it was the documentary makers who found a letter and handwriting that broke the case and resulted in a confession from this guy who'd gotten away from murder. You've got this case where you've got documentary makers exposing this to people, and the online internet sleuths have actually come up with new evidence, and the reaction has brought out jurors who have said they were intimidated to return a not guilty verdict because they have to live in the county with these sheriffs. So these are all extremely important things that could end up freeing Stephen Avery. So it's internet sleuths who have done in a very short time what the limited counsel could, not accomplish in a very long time because there were only a couple of people. Now, but before we get too excited about ourselves as internet sleuth people, you have to keep in mind that the court of public opinion was something used by the prosecutor in order to taint the trial of Stephen Avery. And in the majority of cases, when you see the public discussing a case, they've already assumed guilt. Most online conversations about law cases are somebody going, oh my God, this horrendous, monstrous person has done this crime. And then you only get the occasional person coming in going, whoa, wait a second. They are innocent until proven guilty. And this tendency of the public to convict without a fair trial, if the public wants to become sleuths and they think they're really good at it, and I think they're fairly good at it, then they're going to have to actually educate themselves a little bit more and really brainstorm about how, if they were going to imagine themselves replacing the legal system, how are they going to get some of the checks and balances in place? So one of the things that you see a lot with online feminists is they target somebody that they decide they want to put out a commission. They want to make them miserable. They want to take them offline, whatever. They get them fired and all these other things. And this is done through gossip circuits. And this is internet vigilante justice. We've also seen really interesting groups like Anonymous that a lot of people were excited about, but they've identified wrongly the home of somebody that they were targeting, and it's resulted in bad things. That's just an example off the top of my head that I think had to do with the Amanda Todd case. But as much as we can get excited about the capabilities and the possibilities of the internet, I think this is a time for us to really think about, if we're so great, do we even understand the law? And if that could be incorporated into what's going on online, I think there's a really powerful force for justice. But in the meantime, I think that as a result of this Avery case, and there have been lots of other cases in the past, Avery is, this is the thing to remember, only one of many people who have had this type of injustice against them. And that's the bigger problem. So if you look way back, you'll find characters like this Randy Weaver person. He was a separatist and labeled a white supremacist because that worked for the FBI and so on when they were assaulting him with tanks and 400 military personnel shooting just him and his family after they'd killed his kid. Anyways, Randy Weaver, look him up. There's a whole underground movement now because of the reaction to what happened out there. And his kids got lots of money, but they lost their mother and their brother. So these cases get people worked up, and they are culturally changing. What we're looking at now is a bigger crowd. Randy Weaver had a really kind of specific type of group that rallied around his case and has murdered his whole story and so on. And this case is appealing to a much broader community, and that means the public change demand is going to be on a much bigger scale. And I don't think it's going to go away. What I think the best result from this, aside from justice in Stephen Avery's case, what I think the best result would be is a demand upon the government that they do arrange an inquiry into what causes misconduct from police, how these courts end up becoming like pretty much Scooby-Doo, okay? I felt like I was watching an episode of Scooby-Doo. So when all of these people start to make these mistakes and violating people's rights, there's always a reason for it. And one of those reasons is that as soon as law enforcement or a judge is involved in having made a mistake, then the incentive to cover it up becomes bigger, and you see it growing, and it's like a big snowball, right? So there needs to be some sort of an inquiry that investigates why these things happen, try to figure out what kinds of checks and balances need to be put in place. I think there needs to be a more transparent system in place to detect and punish the people who break those codes. And I say this understanding that most cops, it's my belief that most police officers and most judges actually want to do their jobs well and to work towards a just and safe society. I actually do think that's true. So given that, even when they're good people, as soon as something happens that compromises their career, compromises them as a person, there's going to be a temptation to start breaking rules. And these need to be identified. I think a full report needs to be made to the public with recommendations. And if they say there's nothing broken, then we know that we need a new commission. And they need to win back the faith of the public. Because if they don't, then the public, the internet, is probably just going to come up with their own system, and we're just going to bypass all the other stuff. And I know they put a lot of hard work into it. And nobody really thinks that it turned out all that well, but at least they've got a groundwork there. So if you don't think it's salvageable, then start educating yourself on the principles of the law, the philosophy of the law, and start thinking about how the court of public opinion might start, out with a presumption of innocence. And if you can work that stuff out, then we got something. So the one good thing I'm going to leave you with is that he seems to have picked up, Stephen Avery, one of the best lawyers if you have been wrongfully convicted. So hopefully that goes well. She uses Twitter so we can keep up on what's happening there. So after spending the entire weekend watching these episodes back to back and then researching all of the events that have happened since, I gotta get back online because a crowdfunded transcript has become available. I gotta read it. So now for the politically incorrect joke of the week. Taylor Swift has, 500 songs about guys leaving her? She doesn't have any about blowjobs. Maybe there's a connection there.